I told my daughter, "Please don't invite your stepmom to the wedding. She helped your dad break our family." She laughed like I told a funny joke and said, "She's not just coming, Mom. She's the guest of honor. You can stay home if you're scared." I smiled calmly and said, "Okay, sweetie. That's fine." 3 days before her big day, I did something important for myself. I canceled everything I promised to give her. What happened next shocked everyone. Let me tell you the whole story. But first, if you like stories about real family problems, please subscribe to Granny's Voice. Click the like button too. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let me explain how everything happened. I used to think being a mother meant never giving up on your child. No matter what happened between adults, the love between a mom and her baby would stay strong forever. Maybe that was silly thinking, but it helped me survive my darkest days. When my marriage fell apart because my husband chose another woman, when I found out he'd been lying to me for a whole year, my daughter was my only light. She was 12 when the divorce papers were signed. Still small enough to cry on my shoulder, but big enough to understand something bad had happened. I poured my whole heart into being her mom. I never missed her dance shows. I helped her learn her spelling words. I made her favorite pancakes every Saturday morning. I fought hard in court to see her because losing her would have killed me. She was my reason for breathing. I remember when she was little and afraid of the dark. She'd crawl into my bed and I'd sing to her until she fell asleep. Back then, I believed nothing could ever break our bond. I thought I'd always be her number one. But kids grow up and sometimes they forget who was there first. Started with tiny things. She stopped calling me every day. She'd forget to text me back for hours. Then she started canceling our movie nights together. Her hugs became quick instead of long and warm. Bit by bit, the distance between us grew bigger, like an ocean I couldn't swim across. I told myself she was just becoming a teenager. This was normal. But my heart knew better. I wasn't just losing time with her. I was being pushed out by the woman who stole my husband. And my daughter was letting it happen. The first time I saw them all together, I was picking up groceries. There they were in the parking lot. My ex-husband, that woman, and my daughter. All laughing like they were the perfect happy family. She was the woman he swore was just a coworker. The one he said I was being paranoid about. The one I knew in my gut was more than a friend. Seeing her touch my daughter's hair made me feel sick. My baby looked comfortable with her. Like she belonged there. Like I was the outsider now. I didn't make a scene. I just got in my car and gripped the wheel so hard my hands hurt. I wanted to march over there and remind my daughter who gave birth to her. Who stayed up all night when she was sick with fever. Who sacrificed everything for her happiness. But I knew how I'd look. The bitter ex-wife who couldn't let go. So I drove home and cried alone in my bedroom where nobody could see me fall apart. When she called to say she was engaged, my heart jumped with joy. She sounded excited on the phone, talking fast about wedding plans and her fiancé. She even said, "Mom, I'm going to need your help with so many things." For the first time in years I felt needed again. Like maybe we could fix what was broken between us. I asked her what she wanted from me. She said the wedding dress, the cake, and the photographer. All the important things that would make her day beautiful. I didn't hesitate. I said yes to everything. I would have said yes to the moon if she asked. Not because money meant nothing to me, but because she meant everything. Deep down, I hoped this would show her I was still here. Still her mother. Still the woman who would do anything for her happiness. We started planning together. Meeting at cafes, looking at magazines, talking about flowers and colors. I went with her to try on wedding dresses. When she stepped out in a white gown with lace sleeves, I cried real tears. Happy ones. She looked so beautiful, so grown up. I touched the fabric gently and said, "You look like a princess, baby." She smiled at me and for a second it felt like old times. Like we were close again. I didn't care that the dress cost more than my car payment. What mattered was being part of this moment. Being her mom again. But then came the lunch where everything changed. We were eating salads at her favorite restaurant when I gathered my courage. My voice shook a little when I said, Honey, I need to ask you something. Please don't invite your stepmom to the wedding. I know you like her, but she was involved in something that destroyed me. Having her there would break my heart all over again. Her reaction wasn't what I expected. She didn't get sad or understanding. She laughed. Not a small giggle, but a real laugh. Like what I said was ridiculous. Mom, she's not just invited, she said, still smiling. She's the guest of honor. Dad and I already decided. You can watch on video from home if you're too insecure to handle being in the same room as her. Those words hit me like a punch in the stomach. Insecure. She called my pain insecurity. She called my broken heart a weakness. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, to make her understand what she was doing to me. But I didn't. I just smiled a quiet smile and said, "That's fine." She kept eating her salad, completely unaware that she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. That night, I sat in my kitchen with all the papers spread out in front of me. Receipts for the dress deposit. Contract with the bakery. Agreement with the photographer. Thousands of dollars. Months of planning. All my hope wrapped up in these pieces of paper. I stared at them for a long time. My daughter had chosen that woman over me. Made her the guest of honor while treating me like I was embarrassing. Like my feelings were something to laugh about. And she expected me to pay for it all. To smile and write checks while she celebrated with the person who helped ruin my life. Something clicked in my mind right then. Not anger exactly. More like clarity. Like I'd been wearing foggy glasses and suddenly they were clean. I'd been holding on to a daughter who didn't exist anymore. The sweet girl who loved me unconditionally was gone. In her place was a woman who saw me as a wallet, not a mother. If she couldn't respect me enough to honor one simple request, then why was I still bending over backward to make her happy? Maybe love wasn't enough anymore. Maybe it was time to love myself more than I loved the idea of being her perfect mom. The decision formed slowly, like ice freezing over a pond. I picked up my phone and opened my email. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. I wrote to the dress shop first. Polite and simple. I need to cancel my order and get my deposit back. There's been a change in plans. Send. Then the bakery. Please cancel the wedding cake order under my name. I won't be needing your services after all. Send. Then the photographer. I'm withdrawing from the wedding contract. Thank you for your understanding. Send. One by one, I took back every promise I'd made. Every dollar I'd committed. Every piece of myself I'd poured into her special day. And with each email sent I felt lighter. Not happy exactly, but free. Free from pretending I was okay with being treated like nothing. I made myself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the sun go down. My phone was silent. She didn't know yet what I'd done. Tomorrow she would find out. Tomorrow her perfect wedding plans would start crumbling. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty about putting myself first. I thought about calling my sister to tell her what happened. But I didn't want to hear her try to talk me out of it. This wasn't a decision I made in anger that I'd regret later. This was me finally understanding my worth. I'd given my daughter everything. My time, my money, my unconditional love. And she'd thrown it back in my face while laughing. Now she'd learn that mothers are human too. We have limits. We have hearts that break. And when you break them too many times, eventually we stop picking up the pieces. I went to bed early that night. No guilt kept me awake. No second thoughts made me toss and turn. I slept deeply and peacefully for the first time in months. Because I'd finally done something just for me. Not for her. Not for family peace. Not to be the bigger person. Just for me. The next morning my phone was still quiet. I made breakfast slowly, enjoying the calm before the storm I knew was coming. Around noon the first text came through. It was from my daughter. Short and confused. Mom, the dress shop called. They said you canceled. Is this a mistake? I didn't answer right away. I let her sit with the confusion. Let her wonder what was happening. An hour later, another text. The bakery also said you canceled the cake. What's going on? Please call me. I turned my phone face down on the table and went for a walk in the park. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. The world kept turning even though my daughter's wedding plans were falling apart. And I felt okay about that. When I got home, there were 7 missed calls and a dozen text messages. All from her. Each one more panicked than the last. Mom, please answer. What did you do? The photographer quit too. Why are you doing this? I finally replied with just a few words. You made your choice. I made mine. Then I turned off my phone completely. No more notifications. No more guilt trips. Just silence. My sister showed up at my door that evening. She'd clearly been talking to my daughter. What's going on? She asked, not angry but worried. She called me crying, saying you ruined everything. I invited her in and made us both coffee. Then I told her the whole story. How my daughter laughed at my pain. How she made the woman who destroyed my marriage the guest of honor. How she called me insecure for having feelings. My sister listened quietly, nodding sometimes, shaking her head other times. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I can't say you're wrong. That was cruel what she said to you. She didn't tell me to fix it. She didn't say I was being too harsh. She just understood. And that understanding meant everything. After she left, I sat alone with my thoughts. I wasn't celebrating my daughter's pain. I didn't feel victorious or happy. I just felt resolved. Like I'd finally stood up for myself after years of being stepped on. The thing about boundaries is they only work if you enforce them. I'd asked for one simple thing. Don't bring the woman who helped break our family. And she'd laughed in my face. Now she was learning that actions have consequences. Even when you're someone's daughter. Even when it's your wedding day. The next morning I turned my phone back on. It exploded with messages immediately. My ex-husband had texted. Her fiancé had called. Even some relatives I barely talked to were suddenly very concerned. Everyone wanted to know why I'd sabotaged the wedding. Why I was being so petty. Nobody asked why my daughter thought it was okay to disrespect me. Nobody wondered if maybe I had a good reason. I was the villain in their story because I stopped being the doormat. I answered only one message. It was from my best friend Marie, who'd been with me through the divorce. She texted, I heard what happened. Are you okay? I wrote back, I'm better than I've been in years. And I meant it. That afternoon my daughter showed up at my house. I saw her car pull up through the window. My stomach tightened. Part of me wanted to hide and not answer the door. But I'd come this far. I wasn't going to run now. I opened the door before she could knock. She looked terrible. Eyes red from crying. Hair messy. Still in pajama pants even though it was 3 in the afternoon. How could you? She said immediately, voice cracking. How could you do this to me, Mom? I stood in the doorway, not inviting her in. I asked you for one thing, I said calmly. One boundary. And you laughed at me. You told me to stay home if I was too insecure. So I chose to protect myself instead. But it's my wedding, she cried, tears streaming down her face. You're ruining everything. No, I said firmly. You ruined it when you decided that woman was more important than your own mother. When you made her the guest of honor knowing what she did to our family. When you treated my feelings like a joke. She stood there speechless for a moment. Like she'd never considered that her actions might hurt me. Like she genuinely thought I'd just take it and keep smiling. I didn't think you'd actually. She trailed off. You didn't think I'd actually have self-respect. I finished for her. You thought I'd just pay for everything and stay quiet while you celebrated with her? I'm done being that person. She tried to argue more. Said I was being dramatic. That it happened so long ago and I should be over it. That her stepmom had been good to her and deserved to be there. Every word just proved I'd made the right choice. She still didn't get it. I closed the door gently but firmly. I didn't slam it. I just shut it. And I locked it. She stood on my porch crying for a few minutes before finally getting in her car and leaving. I watched through the curtains, and I didn't feel guilty. Felt sad. Sad that it came to this. Sad that my daughter couldn't see what she'd done wrong. But not guilty. That evening my ex-husband called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "You're being childish," he said immediately. "No hello. No how are you. Just insults. Our daughter is heartbroken. How can you do this to her?" "The same way you did it to me," I said simply. "By choosing yourself." He sputtered, trying to find words. "That's completely different. That was between us. This is about our daughter." "No," I corrected him. "This is about respect. Something neither of you seem to understand." I hung up before he could respond. Blocked his number. I should have done that years ago. Over the next few days, the calls and messages slowed down. People realized I wasn't going to change my mind. My daughter tried a few more times, but her messages got shorter and less frequent. She never apologized. She never said she understood why I was hurt. She just kept saying I was ruining her day. Making it about me. Being selfish. It's funny how standing up for yourself gets called selfish by people who've been using you. Course she did. That's exactly what she wanted. To replace me completely. And my daughter let her. The wedding day came. I spent it at home, reading a book in my garden. The weather was beautiful. Sunny and warm with a light breeze. I made myself a nice lunch. Poured a glass of wine. Enjoyed the peace and quiet. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't check social media to see pictures. I just existed in my own space, surrounded by flowers I'd planted myself. Around the time the ceremony would have been happening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered out of curiosity. It was her fiancé. "Mrs. Patterson," he said, voice tight. "I just wanted to say I think what you did was wrong. But I also think I understand why you did it." I was surprised. "Oh, she doesn't see it yet," he continued. "But she was really cruel to you. I told her that when we were fighting about all this. She just kept saying you were being dramatic. I'm sorry she hurt you." Those words meant more than he probably knew. Someone saw it. Someone understood. "Thank you," I said quietly. "I hope you two will be happy together." "I hope someday you two can fix this," he replied. "But I get why you're not there today." After we hung up, I sat with those words for a while. Maybe my daughter married a good man. Someone who could see both sides. Maybe eventually he'd help her understand what she'd done. Or maybe not. Either way, it wasn't my problem to fix anymore. That night I got a text from my daughter. Just one line. "The wedding happened without you. I hope you're happy." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back. "I hope it was everything you wanted. But I'm not sorry for choosing myself." She didn't respond. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into a month. We didn't speak. My phone stopped buzzing with angry messages. The family drama died down. Life moved forward, quieter but also lighter. I started taking a painting class on Tuesday evenings. Something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. I joined a book club with women my age who'd been through similar things. Divorce, difficult kids, finding themselves again after years of putting everyone else first. I wasn't alone in my experience. That was comforting. I planted new flowers in my garden. Roses in deep red and pink. I painted my kitchen a cheerful yellow. I bought myself new clothes that made me feel pretty. I started living for me. Not for my daughter. Not for my ex-husband. Not for anyone's approval. Just me. And it felt good. Really good. One evening, about 2 months after the wedding, I was watering my roses when my phone rang. It was my daughter. I stared at her name on the screen, heart pounding. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, the mother part that never fully goes away, needed to answer. "Hello," I said carefully. "Hi, Mom," she said softly. Her voice sounded different. Muller. Less confident. We were both quiet for a moment. "How are you?" she finally asked. "I'm good," I said honestly. Really good actually. That's good, she said, and I could hear something in her voice. Maybe regret. Maybe just exhaustion. I've been thinking a lot, she continued. About everything. About what you said. About why you did what you did. I didn't respond. I just let her talk. I still think you were wrong, she said, and my heart sank a little. But I also think maybe I was wrong too. About some things. It wasn't a real apology. But it was closer than I'd gotten before. I didn't understand why it hurt you so much, she admitted. Having her there. Making her the guest of honor. I thought you were just being jealous or bitter. And now? I asked quietly. Now I think maybe it was more than that, she said. My husband, he keeps telling me I didn't see your side. That I was mean to you. And I keep thinking about it and I don't know. Maybe I was. Waited. I'm not saying you were right to cancel everything, she added quickly. That really messed things up and embarrassed me in front of everyone. But I guess I understand a little bit why you did it. It still wasn't the apology I deserved. But it was something. A crack in the wall between us. I appreciate you saying that, I told her. It was never about punishing you. It was about showing you that I have limits. That I matter too. I know that now, she said quietly. Or at least I'm starting to. We talked for a few more minutes. Nothing deep. Just small talk about the weather and her new apartment. When we hung up, I felt a tiny bit of hope. Not that things would go back to how they were. They never could. But maybe we could build something new. Something built on honesty instead of her taking me for granted. Over the next few months, she called occasionally. Short conversations, carefully polite. She told me about her job. I told her about my painting class. We were like acquaintances getting to know each other again. Testing the waters. Seeing if trust could grow back. I didn't push. I didn't demand apologies or explanations. I just let things unfold naturally. And slowly, very slowly, the ice between us started to melt. One day, about 6 months after the wedding, she asked if she could come over for coffee. Said yes. When she arrived, she looked nervous. We sat in my newly painted yellow kitchen. Cups of coffee steaming between us. Your kitchen looks nice, she said, looking around. Very bright. Thank you, I said. I needed a change. She nodded, stirring her coffee even though she hadn't added anything to it. Mom, I need to say something, she finally began, looking down at her cup. I've been in therapy. Talking about a lot of things. About the divorce, about Dad, about you, about me. I stayed quiet, letting her continue. My therapist helped me see that I was really unfair to you. Not just about the wedding but for years. I took Dad's side without even realizing it. I let his new wife replace you in my head because it was easier than dealing with the complicated feelings about what he did. My throat tightened. These were words I'd waited years to hear. When you set that boundary about her not coming to the wedding, you were asking for basic respect, she continued, voice cracking. And I laughed at you. I made fun of your pain. And that was so wrong, Mom. So incredibly wrong. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for laughing at you. I'm sorry for calling you insecure. I'm sorry for making her more important than you when you're the one who raised me. You're the one who was always there. I felt my own tears starting. I'm sorry for hurting you with the cancellations, I said. That wasn't easy for me. But I didn't know how else to make you hear me. I hear you now, she said, reaching across the table for my hand. I hear you. He was kind and respectful. I could see why she married him. Months became a year. Our relationship wasn't perfect. Sometimes old wounds would ache. Sometimes I'd remember that day she laughed at me and feel the hurt fresh again. But we were trying. Both of us. Really trying. She never asked me to have a relationship with her stepmom. That boundary stayed firm, and she respected it. One afternoon, we were shopping together for her apartment when she suddenly stopped in the middle of the store. What? Yes. I just realized something, she said, looking at me with watery eyes. You were the only one who loved me enough to let me be mad at you. Dad and everyone else just wanted me to be happy, even if it meant you got hurt. But you loved me enough to let me be angry if it meant teaching me about respect. I hugged her right there between the dish towels and picture frames. That's what real love looks like sometimes, I whispered. It's not always comfortable, but it's always honest. She squeezed me tight. I'm so lucky you're my mom. Those words healed something deep inside me I didn't even know was still broken. Looking back now, I don't regret what I did. Could I have handled it differently? Maybe. But I tried the gentle way for years. I tried swallowing my pain and keeping quiet. None of that worked. Sometimes love means being soft. But sometimes it means being strong. Strong enough to say no. Strong enough to walk away. Strong enough to show people that you won't accept being treated poorly, even by your own child. My daughter learned a hard lesson that year. She learned that every person has a breaking point. That you can't laugh at someone's pain and expect them to keep giving you everything. That relationships require respect, not just love. And I learned something too. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. That standing up for yourself doesn't make you a bad mother. That boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to healthier relationships. The wedding that never was with my blessing became the thing that saved us. Because it forced both of us to be honest. It forced her to see me as a person, not just a mom-shaped ATM machine. And it forced me to stop accepting crumbs of affection while pretending it was enough. Today, our relationship is better than it's been in a decade. Not because everything is perfect, but because it's real. She knows I love her. But she also knows I love myself enough not to be a doormat. And somehow that makes her respect me more, not less. We have coffee every week now. She tells me about work stress and friend drama. I tell her about my painting class and the new recipes I'm trying. We laugh together. Really laugh, not the fake kind. Sometimes she brings up that time, as she calls it. Remember when you canceled my whole wedding? She'll say with a small smile. Remember when you told me to watch from home if I was too insecure? I'll reply back. And we'll both shake our heads at how close we came to losing each other forever. Her relationship with her stepmom isn't what it used to be either. She told me that once she started seeing things clearly, she realized that woman had been slowly poisoning her against me for years. Little comments here and there. Gentle suggestions that I was too sensitive or dramatic. Seeds of doubt planted carefully over time. Now she sees it. And while she's still polite to her stepmom at family events, the closeness is gone. Because my daughter finally understands that you can't build a relationship with someone who's standing on the broken pieces of another relationship. That's not love. That's just winning. My ex-husband tried to reach out once, months after everything happened. Wanted to clear the air, he said. I declined. Some bridges are better left burned. He made his choices. Made mine. We don't need to be friends or even friendly. We just need to leave each other alone. And that's exactly what we do now. My sister told me she's proud of me. Said she watched me bend and bend for years, always worried I'd break completely. She said seeing me finally stand up straight again was like watching a flower bloom after a long winter. I liked that description. Felt accurate. I'd been frozen for so long. Frozen in people-pleasing. Frozen in fear of losing my daughter. Frozen in the role of the understanding ex-wife and the grateful mother. That day I canceled everything. I started thawing. Started remembering who I was before I became someone's wife and someone's mother. Started finding myself again. The painting class led to an art show. I actually sold 2 of my paintings. Small ones, nothing fancy. But people wanted to hang my art in their homes. That felt incredible. The book club led to real friendships. Women who understood my journey because they'd walked similar paths. We support each other. Celebrate each other. Hold each other accountable when we start falling back into old patterns. I started dating again too. Nothing serious yet. Just nice dinners with kind men who make me laugh. Feels strange after so many years. But also exciting. Like I'm young again, but with wisdom this time. My daughter met one of them by accident when he came to pick me up and she happened to be visiting. She looked shocked seeing me in a pretty dress with my hair done. You look beautiful, Mom, she said, and there was something in her voice. Pride maybe. Or happiness that I was moving forward. Thank you, sweetheart, I said, and I meant it. Later she texted me. I'm glad you're happy. You deserve it. Those 5 words meant everything. Because they showed she finally saw me as a whole person. Not just her mother, but a woman with her own life and own needs and own right to happiness. I'm not saying everyone should do what I did. Every situation is different. Every relationship is unique. But I am saying that you have to know your worth. You have to understand that love without respect is just obligation wearing a pretty mask. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do, both for yourself and for the person hurting you, is to step back and let them feel your absence. Because absence teaches lessons that presence never can. When you're always there, always giving, always forgiving, people forget you're choosing to be there. They forget you could leave. They take you for granted because you've never shown them any different. But when you actually leave, when you actually enforce your boundaries, they learn. They learn that you're not a given. You're a gift. And gifts can be taken back if they're not appreciated. My daughter learned that. The hard way, yes. But she learned it. And now our relationship is built on mutual respect instead of one-sided sacrifice. Would I have preferred to learn that lesson without the pain? Course. Would I have rather been at her wedding, smiling and celebrating? Absolutely. But not at the cost of my dignity. Not at the cost of teaching her that she could treat me however she wanted, and I'd still show up with a smile and a checkbook. Some lessons are only learned through pain. For both the teacher and the student. Looking back, I see that my daughter needed to lose me to find me. She needed to see what life looked like without her mom in it. Without my support, my money, my unconditional presence. And I needed to lose her temporarily to find myself. To remember I was a person worthy of respect. To understand that being a mother doesn't mean being a martyr. On her first wedding anniversary, she came to my house with flowers. Not expensive ones. Just simple daisies from the grocery store. But the gesture was huge. Happy anniversary, I said when she arrived. Thank you, she said, handing me the flowers. I wanted to bring these to you because I've been thinking about last year, about how different things could have been. Oh, sweetheart, I started, but she held up her hand. Let me finish, she said. I spent my whole wedding day feeling wrong, like something important was missing. And it wasn't the cake or the flowers or any of that stuff. It was you. I'd been so focused on making Dad happy and making her feel included that I forgot who actually mattered. Tears streamed down her face. You mattered, Mom. You always mattered. And I threw you away like you were nothing. Like you were the problem instead of the person who'd been there my whole life. I pulled her into a hug while she cried. It's okay, I whispered. We're okay now. But it's not okay what I did, she sobbed. And I need you to know that I know that. I need you to know that I'll never take you for granted again. Ever. We stood in my kitchen, holding each other, while a year's worth of pain finally washed away. Not completely. Some scars stay forever. But enough that we could both breathe easier. That evening, she told me something that surprised me. Her marriage was struggling. She and her husband were in counseling. We fight about his mom a lot, she admitted. She's really pushy and boundary stomping, and he always takes her side. Always makes excuses for her. And I keep thinking about you. About how I did the exact same thing to you with Dad and his wife. She laughed sadly. Karma is real, Mom. Now I'm on the other side of it, and it hurts so much. I finally understand what I put you through. I didn't say I told you so. I didn't gloat or lecture. I just listened and held her hand across the table. What are you going to do? Asked gently. I'm setting boundaries, she said firmly. Like you taught me. His mom doesn't get to run our lives. She doesn't get to be more important than me in my own marriage. And if he can't understand that, then we have bigger problems. I smiled, feeling proud. That's very mature of you. I learned from the best, she said, squeezing my hand. Even if I learned it the hard way. We talked for hours that night. About marriage, about family, about forgiveness and boundaries. Felt like the conversation we should have had years ago. But maybe we both needed to walk through fire first to be ready for it. My relationship with my daughter today is honest. That's the best word for it. We don't pretend anymore. We don't sweep things under the rug. If something bothers us, we talk about it. If we need space, we take it. If we need each other, we show up. It's not the fairy tale mother-daughter relationship you see in movies. But it's real. And real is better than perfect any day. I've also noticed she's more careful with people now. More aware when she's being hurtful. More quick to apologize when she makes mistakes. The wedding incident changed her. Made her grow up in ways that comfort never could have. Sometimes growth comes wrapped in pain. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is letting them face the consequences of their choices. I gave my daughter that gift, even though it broke my heart to do it. And she gave me a gift too, eventually. The gift of seeing me. Really seeing me. Not as the mom who'd always be there no matter what. But as a human being with feelings and limits and a right to be treated well. Last month she asked me something unexpected. Mom, if you could go back and change what happened, would you? I thought about it carefully before answering. No, I said finally. Because if I'd gone to that wedding, smiled and pretended everything was fine, I'd have taught you that you could hurt me without consequences. Our relationship would have stayed broken, just with a prettier mask over it. What happened was painful, but it was necessary. She nodded slowly. I'm glad you stood up for yourself. Even though I hated it at the time. Even though it hurt. I'm glad you showed me that you have limits. I needed to learn that. We both did, I said softly. I still paint every Tuesday. Still have my book club every Thursday. Still go on dates occasionally, though I'm taking my time finding the right person. My life is full now, but not overwhelming. Peaceful but not boring. It's mine. And that's the most important thing. My daughter is part of my life again, but she's not my whole life. I learned that lesson too. You can love someone with your whole heart without making them your entire world. In fact, you should. Because when your world depends on one person, you lose yourself. And I'd lost myself for too many years. I found myself again in the wreckage of that cancelled wedding. Found my voice, my strength, my self-respect. And while I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, I also wouldn't trade the person I became because of it. Sometimes people ask me if I have any advice for others in similar situations. Tell them this. Know your worth. Set your boundaries. And stick to them even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because the people who truly love you will learn to respect those boundaries. And the people who don't, well, they're showing you exactly how much they value you. Believe them. I also tell them that you can't force anyone to respect you. You can only decide what you'll tolerate and what you won't. My daughter didn't respect me until I stopped tolerating disrespect. That's not my failure as a mother. That's just human nature. We push until we find the wall. And I finally became the wall. The funny thing is, our relationship is stronger now than it ever was before. Because it's built on truth instead of fear. I'm not afraid of losing her anymore. And she's not taking me for granted anymore. We meet each other as equals now. Two grown women who love each other but also know that love isn't permission to hurt each other. Love is choosing to treat each other well even when it's difficult. Last week we were having lunch when she said something that made me laugh. You know what's funny, Mom? All my friends complain about their mothers. How they're too controlling or too needy or too critical. And I'm over here like, my mom is actually kind of amazing. She taught me the most important lesson of my life. What lesson? Yes. That if you want people to treat you right, you have to show them what right looks like. Even if it means walking away. smiled. You learned it well. I had a good teacher, she said. Even if I was a terrible student at first. We laughed together and it felt easy, natural, like we'd finally found our rhythm. Some people still think what I did was wrong. They say mothers should forgive everything. That weddings are special and I should have just smiled through it. Those people don't I don't waste energy explaining myself to them anymore. The people who matter understand. The people who don't, their opinions aren't my problem. My daughter's stepmom tried to reach out to me once through a mutual friend. Wanted to make peace, she said. I declined politely but firmly. Some relationships aren't meant to be repaired. Some people's presence in your life was only meant to teach you what you won't accept. She taught me that. And I'm grateful for the lesson, even if I'm not grateful for her. My ex-husband remarried recently. To someone else, not the stepmom. Apparently that relationship fell apart a couple years after the wedding. I felt nothing when I heard the news. No satisfaction, no sadness, just nothing. He's a stranger to me now. Someone I used to know in another lifetime. My daughter told me about it carefully, watching my face for a reaction. It's fine, I assured her. That's his life, not mine. Doesn't it feel good though? She asked. That his perfect new life wasn't so perfect after all. No, I said honestly. Because my happiness doesn't depend on his unhappiness. I'm happy because I built a life I love. What he does or doesn't have isn't part of my story anymore. She smiled at that. You're so much healthier than me, Mom. I'm just older, I laughed. You'll get there. And she will. I can see her growing and changing every time we talk. Becoming more confident, more self-aware, more willing to stand up for herself. The wedding that almost destroyed us ended up making us both better people. We're coming up on the 3-year mark since that day. 3 years since I canceled everything. 3 years since I chose myself. Looking back, it feels like a different lifetime. Like that wounded, desperate version of me was someone else entirely. In some ways she was. That version of me died the day I sent those cancellation emails. And a stronger version was born. A version who knows that love without respect is just pretty chains. A version who understands that you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. A version who will never again shrink herself to make others comfortable. My daughter is planning to buy a house soon. She asked me to come look at properties with her. Not her stepmom. Not her dad. Me. You have the best eye for this stuff, she said. But we both knew it was about more than that. It was about choosing me. Actually choosing me. Not out of obligation or guilt, but because she genuinely wanted me there. That's how I know we've really healed. Not because she says sorry anymore, but because her actions show me I matter. Actions speak louder than apologies. Always have, always will. So here I am 3 years later. Sitting in my yellow kitchen that I painted myself. Drinking coffee from a mug my daughter gave me that says, "World's Strongest Mom." Living a life that finally feels like mine. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe my daughter and I will grow even closer. Maybe we'll hit rough patches again. Life isn't a straight line after all. But I know one thing for certain. I'll never again sacrifice my dignity for someone else's comfort. Not for my daughter. Not for anyone. Because the greatest love you can give anyone is teaching them that everyone, including you, deserves respect. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Even when it costs you something you thought you couldn't live without. I'm living proof that you can survive losing something precious if it means keeping something more precious. Yourself. And my daughter is living proof that sometimes the kindest thing a parent can do is let their child face the natural consequences of their choices. Not to be cruel, but to be honest, to be real, to be human. So to anyone out there struggling with a similar situation, wondering if they should keep accepting less than they deserve, wondering if setting boundaries makes them a bad parent, I want to tell you something important. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You are not required to smile through your own pain to spare someone else's discomfort. You are not required to be endlessly forgiving while receiving no respect in return. You are allowed to have boundaries. You are allowed to enforce them. You are allowed to walk away from situations that harm you, even if those situations involve people you love deeply. Because real love, the kind that lasts and matters and heals, can only exist where there's respect. And if someone can't respect you, they don't really love you. They love what you do for them. They love how you make them feel. They love the role you play in their life. But they don't love you. The real you. The you that has feelings and needs and limits. My daughter loves me now. Really loves me. Not the version of me that gave her everything she wanted. But the real me. The me with boundaries and self-respect and the courage to say no. And that love, the real kind, is worth more than 1,000 fake relationships built on one-sided sacrifice. So I don't regret what I did. Not even a little bit. I regret that it had to come to that. I regret the pain it caused both of us. But I don't regret standing up for myself. I don't regret teaching my daughter that mothers are people too. People who deserve kindness and consideration and basic respect. And if my story helps even one person find the courage to set their own boundaries, to choose themselves, to demand the respect they deserve, then sharing it was worth every difficult moment. Because you deserve better. Your children deserve to learn that treating people well isn't optional. And the world needs more people who understand that love and respect aren't separate things. They're two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other, no matter how much you pretend otherwise. 3 years ago, I made the hardest choice of my life. I chose myself over my daughter's wedding, over keeping peace, over looking like the perfect, forgiving mother. And it was the best decision I ever made. Not because it felt good. Didn't. But because it was necessary. Because some bridges need to burn before you can build better ones. Because some relationships need to break before they can heal properly. Because sometimes the only way forward is to first have the courage to stop going backward. My daughter understands that now. She tells her friends about it sometimes. About the mom who canceled her wedding. But not in a bitter way. In a respectful way. My mom taught me that everyone has limits, I've heard her say. Even the people who love you most. And you better respect those limits if you want to keep those people in your life. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not perfect motherhood. Not endless sacrifice. But the understanding that healthy relationships require mutual respect. That boundaries aren't mean. They're necessary. That you can love someone deeply while also refusing to let them hurt you. I look at my life now and I'm proud. Not because it's perfect. It's not. But because it's mine. Built by my daughter is one of those people now. But she had to learn to be. And I had to teach her, even when the lesson hurt us both. That's real love. Not the Instagram kind. Not the greeting card kind. The messy, complicated, sometimes painful kind that actually changes people and makes them better. So if you're reading this or watching this or listening to this, and you're in a situation where someone you love is treating you badly, I want you to hear me clearly. You are worth more than that. You deserve better than that. And you have every right to demand better even if it costs you something. Even if it costs you everything. Because what good is keeping a relationship if you have to lose yourself to maintain it? What good is being someone's mother or father or friend or partner if they only want the version of you that never says no? You're not a servant. You're not a doormat. You're not an ATM machine or an emotional punching bag. You're a human being with worth and dignity and a right to be treated well. And if the people in your life can't see that, if they laugh at your pain, if they call you insecure for having boundaries, then maybe it's time to show them what life looks like without you in it. Not to be cruel, not to be petty, but to be honest, to be real, to give them the chance to learn what you're really worth. Some will learn, like my daughter did. Some won't. And that's okay too. 'Cause either way you'll know where you stand. And you'll have your self-respect intact. That's the gift I gave myself 3 years ago. My self-respect, my dignity, my understanding that I matter. And it's the same gift my daughter eventually gave back to me. Respect. Real genuine respect. Not because she had to, but because she chose to. Because she finally understood what she almost lost. Today, as I finish writing this story, my daughter is on her way over. We're going to look at paint colors for her new house. She asked for my opinion, She values my opinion. That might seem small to some people. But to me it's everything. Means she sees me. Really sees me. Not as a wallet or a convenience or someone who'll always be there no matter how badly she treats me. But as a person. As her mother. As someone whose thoughts and feelings actually matter. And that's all I ever wanted. Not to be worshipped or put on a pedestal. Just to be respected. Just to be valued. Just to be treated like I matter. It took losing her temporarily to gain her properly. It took the worst moment of our relationship to build the best version of it. And I wouldn't change a thing. So here's my final thought. Never be afraid to set boundaries with the people you love. Because if they really love you, they'll respect those boundaries. And if they don't, well then you've learned something important about who they really are. My daughter learned. Eventually. But she had to lose me first to find me. She had to see what a wedding looked like without her mother there to understand what her mother was really worth. And I had to walk away to understand that I was strong enough to survive without her validation. We're both better for it. Stronger for it. More honest for it. Our relationship isn't perfect. But it's real. And real is the only kind of relationship worth having. So thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for hearing about the hardest thing I've ever done and the best decision I've ever made. And if you're struggling with something similar, I hope my story gives you courage. Courage to stand up for yourself. Courage to set boundaries. Courage to demand respect. Courage to walk away from anything or anyone that requires you to be smaller than you are. You are enough. Exactly as you are. With your boundaries and your limits and your needs. You don't need to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You don't need to sacrifice your dignity to prove your love. Real love doesn't require that. Real love celebrates your strength, not your willingness to be weak for someone else's benefit. My daughter knows that now. And our relationship is better for it. Stronger for it. Truer for it. 3 years ago I thought I was ending something. Turns out I was beginning something. Something better. Something real. Something built on mutual respect instead of one-sided sacrifice. And that's the relationship I always wanted with my daughter. Just took both of us walking through fire to get here. So if you enjoyed this story, if it resonated with you, please subscribe to Granny's Voice. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between love and respect? What did you choose? How did it turn out? I'd love to hear your stories. Because we're all in this together, figuring out how to love people while also loving ourselves. Learning how to set boundaries while keeping our hearts open. Discovering that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone you love to show them what they're losing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are worth more than you think. You deserve better than you're accepting. And you have every right to demand respect from everyone in your life, including the people you love most. Don't forget that. Ever. My daughter forgot it once. She forgot that I was a person with feelings who deserved respect. And I had to remind her in the most painful way possible. But she remembers now. And she's a better person for learning that lesson. Just like I'm a better person for teaching it, even though it nearly broke my heart. Some lessons can only be learned through loss. Some bridges need to burn before stronger ones can be built. Some relationships need to end before they can truly begin. That's what happened with me and my daughter. Our old relationship, the one built on me always giving and her always taking, had to die. You are not selfish for having boundaries. You are not a bad mother for demanding respect. You are a human being who deserves to be treated well by everyone, including your own kids. And if they can't treat you well, you have every right to step back, to protect yourself, to show them what life looks like without you there to absorb all their disrespect. Will it hurt? Will it be hard? Absolutely. Will some people judge you? Definitely. But will it be worth it? If they learn the lesson, yes. If they don't, still yes. Because either way you'll have your dignity. You'll have your self-respect. You'll have the knowledge that you stood up for yourself when it mattered most. And that's something no one can ever take from you. My daughter almost took everything from me. My joy. My peace. my sense of worth. But I took it back. I took it all back the day I chose myself over her wedding. And I've never regretted it. Not for one single second. So stand up for yourself. Set your boundaries. Demand respect. And don't you dare feel guilty about it. You've earned the right to be treated well. Never forget that. This is Granny's voice, reminding you that you're stronger than you know, braver than you think, and more valuable than anyone has ever told you. Until next time, take care of yourself. Because if you don't, who will? My daughter learned that lesson. She learned that I won't take care of her at the expense of taking care of myself. And once she learned it, really learned it, our relationship became what it should have been all along. Cool. Respectful. Real. That's all any of us really want. To be seen. To be valued. To be respected. And if you have to lose someone temporarily to gain those things, that's not a loss. That's an investment in yourself. An investment that will pay dividends for the rest of your life. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Thank you for listening to my story without judgment. Thank you for understanding that sometimes love means letting go. And thank you for being here, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever situation you're facing. You're not alone. See you. Hear you. And I'm telling you, you deserve better. Don't settle for less. Don't accept disrespect. Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Stand tall. Set boundaries. Choose yourself. And trust that the right people, the people who really love you, will respect your choice. My daughter did. Eventually. And if she could learn, anyone can. There's always hope for change. For growth. For healing. But it starts with you. It starts with you deciding you've had enough. You matter enough. You're worth enough. Make that decision today. Choose yourself today. Set that boundary today. Your future self will thank you for it. Promise. And who knows? Maybe the person you're setting boundaries with will thank you too. Eventually. When they're ready. When they've grown enough to understand what you were really teaching them. My daughter thanks me now. All the time. For teaching her about respect. For showing her what real strength looks like. For loving her enough to let her be angry with me when it meant teaching her something important. She thanks me for not being a doormat. For not accepting her disrespect. For being a real person instead of just a mother-shaped object that exists to serve her. And that gratitude. That's worth more than any wedding could ever be. So here's to all of us who chose ourselves. Who set boundaries. Who walked away from situations that hurt us. Who loved ourselves enough to demand respect. We're not villains. We're not selfish. We're not bad parents or bad people. We're just humans who finally realized we matter too. And that's the most important lesson anyone can learn. You matter. Matter. We all matter. And anyone who makes us feel like we don't, they're wrong. Plain and simple. They're wrong. Remember that. Always. Now go out there and live your life with boundaries, with self-respect, with dignity. You've earned it. And you deserve it. Every single bit of it. This is Granny's voice, signing off. But before I go, drop a comment below. Tell me, what boundary do you need to set today? Who do you need to stand up to? What do you need to say no to? Share it in the comments. Let's support each other. Let's remind each other that we're not alone in this struggle. That there's a whole community of people who understand what it's like to choose yourself when everyone else expects you to sacrifice yourself. See you. We support you. And we're cheering you on. So be brave. Be strong. Be yourself. And never, ever apologize for demanding respect. You've got this. Believe in you. Just like I finally learned to believe in myself. And that belief. That's what changed everything. Not just for me but for my daughter too. Because when I started believing I deserved respect, she had no choice but to either give it to me or lose me. She chose to give it. Eventually. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm more grateful for choosing myself first. For not waiting for her permission to have boundaries. For not needing her approval to value myself. That's true freedom. That's real strength. That's the kind of power no one can ever take from you unless you give it away. And I'm never giving mine away again. Never. I hope you won't either. I hope my story inspires you to hold on to your power, your worth, your dignity. No matter what. No matter who tries to take it. No matter how much they guilt you or manipulate you or tell you you're being selfish. Stand firm. 'Cause you're not selfish. You're self-aware. And there's a huge difference. Selfish people don't care about others. Self-aware people care about themselves and others. They just refuse to care about others at their own expense. That's not selfishness. That's wisdom. That's health. That's what we should all be doing. My daughter gets that now. She's setting her own boundaries with people. She's learning to say no. She's discovering that you can love people without letting them hurt you. And I'm so proud of her for that. So proud of the woman she's becoming. A woman who learned from her mistakes. A woman who knows how to respect others because she finally learned to respect herself. And she learned that from me. From my example. From my willingness to walk away when staying would have destroyed me. That's the greatest gift I could have given her. Not money for a wedding. Not unconditional acceptance of her disrespect. But a real, living example of self-respect in action. So as we close this chapter, I want to leave you with one final thought. The best way to teach people how to treat you is to show them through your actions. Words are nice, but actions speak louder. When you set a boundary and actually enforce it, people learn. They learn you're serious. They learn you mean what you say. They learn you're not someone they can walk all over. My daughter learned all of that. The hard way. But she learned. And now our relationship is built on a foundation of mutual respect, instead of a foundation of me always bending to her will. That's the relationship I always wanted. I just didn't know how to get there until I was forced to choose myself. So choose yourself. Today. Tomorrow. Every day. Choose yourself over other people's comfort. Choose yourself over keeping fake peace. Choose yourself over looking like the perfect parent or perfect friend or perfect partner. Choose yourself. And trust that the right people will respect your choice. The wrong people won't. And that's okay. Let them go. You don't need people in your life who require you to abandon yourself to keep them. You need people who celebrate your boundaries, not people who resent them. My daughter celebrates my boundaries now. And I celebrate hers. And that's what healthy relationships look like. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And please, please, please remember, you are valuable. You are worthy. You are enough. Exactly as you are. With your boundaries and your limits and your needs. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Not your kids. Not your parents. Not your partners. Nobody. You matter. Period. This is Granny's voice, reminding you one last time. Stand up for yourself. You're worth it. See you in the next story. And until then, take care of you. 'Cause you deserve it.